Thank you all for coming out tonight, and welcome to the Cannabis Education Forum. My name's Wesley, and I'm honored and humbled that we can all come together today to talk about the cannabis plant. I think we should all get a round of applause just for ourselves, right? Get that going. You know, we have planned a fun and full day of speakers. Later on, we're going to have Miko Perez with her panel of the new patient base. Then we're going to learn about the life-saving cannabis oil from the creator of the medication, Constance Finley. Then we'll hear about the industrialization of hemp from Patrick Moore. And then Bruce Margolin, the Dean of Cannabis Law, will be here to talk about all the legal matters surrounding the cannabis plant. And then we shall conclude with LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. That's right. But you know, to open the proceedings of our event, we have a very special speaker who will come up here. You know, our speaker is widely known for her leadership on women's issues and serves as a global coordinator of 1 Billion Rising. She's a champion of LGBTQA rights and as a founding board member of the No Hate campaign. Is just one of her many examples. And she has a commitment to creating a just world and is an inspiration to myself and to many others. If you hang out around West Hollywood long enough, you're bound to see her, and this is especially true if you check out the newest edition of the West Hollywood magazine, where she looks stunning. So everybody give a warm WeHo welcome to our mayor, Lindsay Horvath.
How's everyone doing today? It's a nice warm afternoon. Thank you all so much for coming out to this wonderful event. I first want to thank all of our organizers. If you're part of the Cannabis Education Forum organizing team, please raise your hand and stand up so you can be acknowledged. Everyone knows who you are. They've been working really hard on this, along with our City Hall staff, who I also want to give a shout out to. The City of West Hollywood also always puts our core values into action, and a lot of the ways that we advance policy is by holding events like this one to help educate the community and get people engaged in conversation. And so your participation in this helps us advance our city's core values. So it's really exciting, and we're glad to have you be part of this conversation today. You'll be hearing from a lot of people who are experts on all different aspects of legalization of marijuana today, and so they'll be able to give you a lot more details and specifics than I can. We all know that currently the possession of 1 ounce or less of marijuana is considered an infraction under California law, and individuals charged with possession of 1 ounce or less of marijuana can face up to $100 in fines. A tremendous amount of state financial resources are put towards the enforcement of these laws, and according to the ACLU, at least $900 per capita is spent on marijuana offenders within the criminal justice system. Marijuana charges also often disproportionately impact racial minorities. According to the ACLU, blacks are nearly 4 times as likely to be charged with marijuana possession, even when marijuana use is roughly equal between black and white individuals. California residents have, over the past few years, had increasingly positive views on the legalization of marijuana. The Public Policy Institute of California conducted a 2015 poll amongst California voters and found that 55% of respondents want to replace the existing prohibition on marijuana. And further, while California's Prop 215, the Compassionate Use Act, which was adopted in 1996, while it allows for Californians to access marijuana for medical use, the lack of a sound regulatory structure has generated chaos in the oversight and implementation of the Compassionate Use Act. So 2016 has the potential to become a key year for new state legislation on marijuana use. And bills such as AB 266 and SB 643 have been introduced during the California legislature's 2015-2016 sessions. They proposed new regulatory structures for marijuana use in California. And the Responsible Use Act of 2016, which would fully legalize marijuana use, has been approved for circulation in California to collect signatures to qualify as a measure for the November 2016 ballot. So all of this is to say that this conversation today is very timely. There's been legislative action, there's a growing movement, and the conversation is here right now, and the potential for change is imminent. The city of West Hollywood has a long history of support for especially the medical use of marijuana, and I see Richard Eastman here, who's been a big part of that conversation. It's been especially important in our community for those who have been living with AIDS and other chronic illnesses, but we know that there are many medical uses for marijuana, and you're going to hear more about that today. I actually served on the City Council from 2009 to 2011 when we adopted the current regulations that ensure businesses in West Hollywood are in compliance and operate with the mindfulness of their neighborhoods, and we know that that's an ongoing conversation to make sure that enforcement of those regulations continues. Recently, our Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom has been outspoken on the issue of marijuana legalization, and we know he's no stranger to speaking out on issues that are near and dear to the heart of those of us here in West Hollywood, even and especially when others weren't ready to take a stance. And I happen to share his view that we must approach this issue cautiously, but with the understanding that this is something that will ultimately come to the state of California. The legalization of marijuana will come to the state of California. We, as an engaged community, get to determine whether that change will be positive and arrive with informed, proactive regulation, or whether it will continue the confusing regulatory structure that has existed in large part because people are afraid of the conversation we're trying to have here today. I don't know that I'd consider myself an advocate or an activist for marijuana legalization, as I do believe there are questions that I've yet to answer in order to be an informed and responsible policymaker. And that's part of the reason I wanted today's forum to take place. There's much that I have to learn, as well as everyone in the community, about what the legalization of marijuana would actually mean in practical terms. And especially as a mayor of a city that has a deeply rooted commitment to a community in recovery, I want West Hollywood's approach to this conversation to be particularly mindful of how and whether we could thoughtfully integrate this new economy without harming those who are on a different path here in our community. What I do know is that there's a new generation of leaders on the rise who care a great deal about this issue and who don't understand why government leaders are pretending this economy doesn't already exist. I spoke on a panel yesterday with the Ally Coalition to a group of young folks about LGBTQ rights, but the topic came up about the legalization of marijuana, and the conversation was actually moderated by a representative from MTV who has worked on these issues in their social impact actions through MTV, and talking about how new generation, this is a very important issue. This is something that young folks really want to talk about and get engaged in, and yet when they try, we hear often that young people aren't engaged, they don't care, they check out, but when we do try to engage, when we do try to have a conversation, a lot of times we're shut out or shut down. And this is one of those conversations where we don't always have an open ear, and there aren't always people who are receptive to sort of talking through the facts and sort of putting things on the table for discussion. So I'm glad that this forum is taking place so we can kind of change that dialogue and open it up and make sure that we're considering all of the possibilities as we move forward. As I mentioned earlier, disproportionately disadvantaged communities are already taking part in this existing economy, and yet we're pretending like it doesn't exist. When this economy is underground, there are far more risks to the people who are participating in it, and especially for their safety and well-being. And so pretending like it doesn't exist doesn't protect them. In fact, it further endangers them. And often when communities, these disadvantaged communities are taking part in an economy that's underground, sometimes that happens because other opportunities opportunities haven't been presented. So what we need to do is make sure that everyone who wants to participate in this economy wants to, that those who don't want to participate in it have other options, that as this economy moves forward, that those who want to participate in it have an equal chance at participation, because I know a lot of the leaders in this economy, as it's already emerging, happen to be male, and I want to make sure our ladies have a shot at running their own businesses too. That these regulations are mindful of all impacts, especially public safety, and that educational forums like this one become part of the fabric of our community to dispel myths, provide people with facts, and empower communities to make the best informed decisions they can for their residents and their businesses. So I'm very glad that you all are here today to participate in this conversation, that we'll all be able to learn from our speakers, learn a little bit from each other, and help to build a more educated community on these issues. Thank you very much.
Everybody keep it going for Mayor Horvath. It's all right, yeah. All right, that's our mayor, just to let you guys all know. No. So our next speaker, someone I know well. She's been a dedicated force behind the CEF so far. I mean, if it wasn't for her, none of us would be here today. But more importantly, she's the woman that waxes your place and fixes your face. Amanda Hyde.
You had to go there, huh? Had to go there. No, I said had to go there. Just so you know, all the people I worked with, they don't let me get away with anything. Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Hyde, and I am the owner of Amanda Hyde Skin, as Wesley said, in Studio City. I am a resident of WeHo and a head of the team behind our Cannabis Education Forum here today. Before I tell you more about myself and our event, I would first like to thank the City of West Hollywood for hosting and sponsoring our event. These past months working with Mayor Horvath, who's also my very good friend who I love, council members, and all city staff has been an absolute honor. Let me tell you, their brand of teamwork really makes the dream work. I'd also like to thank our many presenters, including the folks speaking and hosting a table in the back, who came from all over the state with only free parking being their only reward. And in West Hollywood, we all know that's like gold. Our volunteers who have worked tirelessly to help make this event a reality, Chelsea, Austin, Joe, Wesley, among our many volunteers, the days of my midnight phone calls and weird emails are over. Sorry, guys. But most of all, I want to thank all of you in the audience. Thank you for showing us that there are others like us who are passionate about cannabis and they want to learn. As for a little history on myself, I was born and raised in the agricultural bastion of the Central Valley of California. I promptly left because of the heat when I could, and I moved to Los Angeles 15 years ago. I know I look too young for this to be possible. I have rented many places in different parts of Los Angeles, Glendale, Hollywood, Pasadena, and a couple of others. But it wasn't until I moved right down the road off Melrose where I finally found the place I have fallen in love with. You're going to have to drag me out of here kicking and screaming because I live in West Hollywood. West Hollywood is my heart's hometown. This city has given so much to me. Its people are my friends. Its services have protected myself and many others from injustice and kept me safe. This city embraces differences and change. It allows people to express themselves, to be fearless from the social norms, and to be who they really are. Because of this city and its protection, I can stand before you unafraid of persecution and say, I believe in cannabis. I believe in cannabis as medicine. There are many patients who benefit from the medicinal qualities of cannabis. I believe in cannabis as a recreational intoxicant. I believe it is the agricultural answer for our state. I believe it is a cure for many illnesses. I believe it is a sustainable material. I believe cannabis no longer has to be shamed, shunned, and oppressed. We are on the brink of something incredible. What an exciting time filled with unlimited possibilities and endless potential, all brought forth by progress and knowledge. We are all told all the time that the green rush is here. But where does one go to acquire the knowledge? The internet, of course. At least that's what I went and found a plethora of information, some of it good and some of it really not so good. I went to a couple of cannabis events, and while I enjoyed what went on there, I could not get past the sexism of the hired models in leaf-covered booty shorts and those weird stickers on their nipples and absurdly dab panels. So when I asked if we could do an event, guess what? I didn't want any of that. I wanted to create a space. I wanted us to learn from each other. I wanted us to be informed and prepared. I wanted to prove to the world that cannabis users are more than the stigmatized weed culture. We're educators and advocates. The future isn't going to look the same for all of us, and that's okay. We have to be open and honest with each other. We have to listen and try to understand. The answers to our questions lie between your truth and mine. The Cannabis Education Forum was created because I wanted a safe place. We could all come together and learn from each other. I wanted all voices to be heard, and I didn't want the only voices heard to be the ones who could pay to play or knew the right person. All perspectives are important. All voices need to be heard. Let's learn together and learn from each other. So let's have an exciting day of learning and being together, and let's go. Go team.
We asked Miko Hester Perez to put together a panel for us to let us know about her new patient base. It's a form, right? Did you say? In a certain way. And so there's Miko Hester Perez. We have an advocacy group committed to assisting the community through welfare awareness. Is she not up here yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea.
I'll come back to that one. A company with products geared to the new patient base is Kurt Fairbrother.
Yes.
Kurt Fairbrother. That's a Medtainer, right? Medtainer. Big fan.
Thank you.
No, definitely. I have one that I picked up not too long ago.
Right on, thank you.
Let's see, a Las Vegas physician and his role in wanting to treat special needs people, Dr. Vu. Right? Let's see, legal counsel, Kendra Miller, Esquire. Right? All right. And the collective's role where there's a special needs liaison for on-site families, Aaron Justice, president of Buds and Roses and cultivator of Joey's Strain.
Yeah.
So I'll leave the floor to them.
First, does this work? Hello? Oh, I can hear it. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for coming out. I think this is really important that the community stands behind the importance of cannabis as a safe and effective medication. I, myself, in 2009, went public with treating my son's autism symptoms with cannabis, and it has proved to be one of the most effective medications to date. Now my son is 16 years old, and he has been given the best quality of life due to using cannabis to treat his symptoms. With that responsibility, I have been contacted all across the country from families like myself, and I have been able to build a wonderful team that includes the medical, legal, working with companies that are geared to treat the new patient base, as well as working with community advocacy groups. And this is what you see today, this panel. And this is one of the panels I'm very proud to have put together, and I'm very grateful for the mayor for letting us speak today. So I would like to start with Can I Live, which is a community organization for family advocacy.
Hello, my name is Asia Fonseca Arnold. I am the founder and CEO of Can I Live. Our organization is a patient-first organization. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay. we're in the process of designing wellness programs that actually include comprehensive health care and prescription services for patients in need. On our nonprofit side, what we're doing is awareness events that we're trying to take cross-country, internationally, even if we can, to raise money for cannabis patients in need. The regulation of this medicine is keeping it impossible for people to afford it. If you are chronically ill or terminally ill, you're not necessarily clocking in. So what we'd like to do is bring different activities and awareness events into the community so that we can raise funds for these patients and also help relocate medical refugees. That mother in middle America whose child is suffering and she can't medicate her child properly because she could be arrested. Those are the people that we're focused on. And I think so far we're doing a good job. Forums like this and any chance and opportunity that we get to add to the destigmatization of cannabis is always a great thing. So again, I really am grateful for the chance to be here and be part of this conversation. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Kurt Fairbrother from the Medtainer Company, and he's going to talk about not only Joey's child-proof resistant container that my son Aaron and I, the cultivator, have been working with regarding his company.
Hi, I'm Kurt Fairbrother. I'm with Ecology. Ecology produces something called the Medtainer. The Medtainer came to fruition based on being a bottle that was based for pediatrics and geriatrics to grind their pills. On top of that is a child-resistant piece also. So the marriage with Miko and her cause with the autism was a perfect match with Joey's strain, and we have went full circle. We started this deal with, I'm looking at this piece that came into the marketplace that didn't exist and now is something that can 100% stop things like cross-contamination for pennies on the dollar. And we're very, very proud of this. We're very proud of being with a cause such as Joey's strain. It's very enlightening, and this is all new to me in the last 3 to 4 years. And it's brought my education to a point where I'm very, very happy to be involved in this. So this is the Medtainer.
Our next speaker is Kendra Miller. She's an attorney. She's also a National Organization for Reform for Marijuana Laws board member and also the co-founder for the Normal Women's Alliance.
Good afternoon, and I applaud all of you for coming out here today. And what I want to highlight, first of all, before I, go on to a few sentences about myself, is what you see up here on stage is the power of one woman, Miko Hester Perez, to bring together this team of people so that we can charge forth and do what we know is the right thing. We are on the right side of history. This is the future. What you see here is where cannabis business meets activism. It's power. My name is Kendra. I'm an attorney. I'm an activist. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dr. Vu, a physician from Las Vegas.
Hello, my name is Vu Lu, and I am a physician licensed in both Nevada, actually, and also California because I grew up here, and the whole plan was to come back to Ventura or its whereabouts to practice, but I sort of crash landed in Las Vegas and have been there ever since. When the medical marijuana industry first started in Las Vegas the patients have been qualified, but the retail establishments and the cultivation licenses came up about 18 months ago. One of the first thoughts I had in discussions with other physicians was, well, if this is truly medical, maybe physicians should get involved and try to find out something about this product and how it can benefit patients. And so that has begun a long journey till now, and we're still sort of getting started in Las Vegas. The first dispensary opened this past week. We've had another dispensary open up in Sparks in northern Nevada. And there's such a great need right now for families to try to get access to medicine. They've had the law on the books since 2003, I believe. I don't want to misquote, and even only now can patients begin to get medicine that they can't grow themselves, and in situations where it's a parent trying to get medicine for their child, it's even more difficult. And the other issue that we see, in addition to access, is affordability. Because of medical marijuana and its classification, it's not like we can show up and give the doctor or anyone an insurance card and say, hey, can you charge it to my insurance, my medical insurance? This is all out of pocket right now for families, and that's a huge issue as well. So with that, we'll get started.
Thank you, Dr. Bear. And I would like to introduce Aaron Justice, the president of Buds and Roses Collective in Studio City, and one of the most amazing advocates that I could pair up with, cultivators I could pair up with to help families with special needs families when they come to their collectives. So
Thank you. As Miko said, my name's Aaron Justice. I've been an activist and patient for roughly 20 years. I sit on various boards and committees for the cannabis industry, and I do my part in lobbying efforts as well. I became president of Buds and Roses in 2010. That was the same year that I started working with Miko, her son Joey, and the Unconventional Foundation for Autism. I've been fortunate to learn a lot about the special needs community throughout that time, and one of the first things I learned was how dangerous it can be for the caretakers and the patients, and how patients can, not only the social stigma, especially back then, but also the fear of losing your insurance, which is your medical treatment, going to jail, or losing your children. And although there were people in the media promoting cannabis in kids, that has a lot to do with where you're located and how it's perceived. There's very few places where that's probably okay. So what we did was we created a program with Miko and Buds and Roses, and it was to create a firewall to protect many of the patients, everyone involved. And so what we do is, if we are reached out to by the special needs community, we will refer them to Miko. She will basically vet the caretaker, go over a lot of these negative pitfalls, and different medications and doctors and the law, and she'll take a long time with these caretakers. And the next step would be her accompanying them to our collective and then going over the different options, and then she takes her time to follow up with them, to guide them. And if by chance she can't make it to the collective, then we're in communication with her. She follows up with them afterwards, and so on. So it's been an honor to work with Miko. What I want to do is encourage all dispensaries to be aware of this issue, to start finding, reach out to Miko or start creating your own experts. Unfortunately, there aren't very many experts in this field. It takes a lot of trial and error, but just for dispensaries to be aware, to not just treat them like every other patient. They need special care, and there's a lot of liabilities. And also, to what I do as I'm lobbying is encourage lawmakers and legislators to tackle this issue, to be aware of this issue, because as it sits now, there's very few guidelines anywhere on how to deal with special needs community, which many times is parents and their minor children. So.
And I just want to follow up with, I am the co-founder of the Unconventional Foundation for Autism, and it's an informational website. And I did that website the day after I walked off of Good Morning America. And I had no idea that I would still be talking about it today. I thought I was just going to go on Good Morning America and get off and go home. That didn't happen. I have families that contact me from Wisconsin to California to Australia wanting to get the guidance that they need to move forward. And so when I started working with Aaron, I knew that that was something that needed to be, and if we're going to call a collective a community collective, then we really need to open ourselves up to the special needs community. To date, there's still no medication that is able to treat these children as effectively as cannabis has been. And so I've become sort of the bridge to the cannabis and autism community. And so when parents contact me, they're a lot like I was when I first started. I had no idea about the cannabis community. I had no idea on how to start. So typically when families contact me, they have all the questions I had back in 2009. So what I do is I provide a private consult with them on the phone or on Skype, and we go over what their preferred methods they would like, what they're treating, kind of a full powerhouse of say you walked into a physician's office and you figure out what you want to treat and how you want to treat it and what's the best way to go about it. That is one part of it. And then there's another part of it, and that's navigating. The navigation that's involved, and that's why we have the legal counsel. That's why I have the physician. That's why I see the importance of companies that are geared toward the new patient base, because it's something that I don't see, and it's something that needs to be brought to the forefront. And I think what Aaron and I are doing is helping to set the guidelines for other collectives and the industry in general, that this patient base is here. So we need to be able to support them. And although there are days when I'm very tired, extremely tired, I always answer my phone. Just recently, I had a family contact me on a Saturday at 9 a.m., and I'm in Costco, and I hear a husband and wife throwing the phone around because they couldn't believe I answered the phone. Well, in 2009, no one answered my phone. I had to figure it out for myself. I own an attorney service, and I've been a legal researcher for over 15 years. I had no idea that my son was going to be my biggest project. And because of that, I made an oath the day I walked off Good Morning America that I would always answer my phone. You can call me now. My phone is right here. It's very important that we support the special needs community, and it's very important that we give them the tools and resources to do so. And that is my job. I am a board member of the Normal Women's Alliance, and I do intervene on quite a few Child Protective Services cases. It shouldn't be that way. So the panel that you have sitting here today is to help start and build those guidelines. So parents like myself who are already dealing with the day-to-day grind with our special needs children, we have relief. And we have relief, I always say until you've walked in our shoes, you really don't know. And so now I'm very pleased with how many physicians that are contacting me now and how many physicians are on board with cannabis to treat special needs children. And so I believe it's an obligation to the cannabis industry to step up and get behind us. So that is the reason why you see this panel today. And thank you so much for letting us come here to speak. So this is the Q&A part. I'm sorry?
He wants to know your telephone number.
My telephone number. Wow. Let's see. It's uf4a.org, and you can email me, and what I'll do is email you back with a confidentiality agreement. And then you
can talk.
That's right. That's what I was just going to say. We have a number. It's 323-908-4CEF.
508.
508 for CEF. So if anyone would like to text their questions or
You can take
field them
questions.
now, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyone would like to ask anything?
Yes, I do. Sometimes when the parents contact me, and on my confidentiality agreement, I state you have to state where you're calling from. And so what happens is that I will link you with a support group in your city if I have one, to make sure. And then also, after signing the agreement, you become accessible to me 24 hours a day.
Miko, could you elaborate on the confidentiality agreement and why it's so important?
Well, the confidentiality agreement, and it is very important. It lets you know that this treatment is not a trend. This treatment involves a lot of responsibility. It involves a lot of navigating. So it allows me to speak with your physician directly. It allows me to speak with Child Protective Services and anyone on my team directly. So it lets you know that, I'm there for you with my team.
I have a question for you guys. Is there anyone sitting here today that still feels like cannabis is not a positive thing?
It's a great question.
No. Okay. Well, then I would like to take another step to say it's not. I'm glad you guys, we're all in agreement. That's great. I want to kind of point out, and as the panel speaks and as the other speakers speak, you're going to hear the word industry kind of thrown around. And I want to point out the difference between industry and community. The community is comprised of patients and advocates and certain businesses, and the industry are the type of people who understand that there is a green rush taking place and taking effect. And some of the events that you may have participated in or seen, or some of the businesses that are kind of out there in the front because they have the dollars to push them, there's not the support coming back to the community that I would like to see. And I just would like for everybody here to also be vigilant and understand what you're supporting and understand who you're supporting and start asking questions. What do you give back to the patients? What are you giving back to the patients who are benefiting from Prop 215 in California, the very laws that you are operating under?
That's
Are
right.
you a compassionate business? Are you a compassionate industry person? If not, then I have to seek those people out. I have to seek out Buds and Roses over ABC dispensary on whatever and whatever street. I have to make sure that I'm supporting the participants in the community who are supporting me. And as patients, I want you guys to be aware of the difference. I want you to pay attention to the events that you attend, to the things that you co-sign, because a lot of things that are happening right now in the industry are keeping the community stagnant. And it is important that we move forward. After legalization passes, what's going to happen with the patient base? What's going to are we going to suddenly be covered by insurance? Are hospitals going to open their doors to us and not get funny when THC comes up in our blood? All of these things have to be addressed, and we have to be aware. I just wanted to, put that out there for you guys. Oh, okay.
And I just want to say also the consults that Aaron and I do at Buds and Roses, those are also free of charge. So whether you're deciding or you have started or you just need more information, it's available at Buds and Roses free of charge. So I give my time at no cost to make sure that it's done right and the family receives the resources and information that's available to them. And it's something that I made an oath to do that from day one. And I don't see myself changing anytime soon. So, oh, go ahead. Yes.
Yes. It is going to be a challenge. I can tell you that first conversation started with my mom. She's like, "What are you getting involved in?" But I actually gave her some CBD gummies to take for her hip pain. She's got sacroiliac joint disease. Given her, she for a time was limping. Received her first epidural steroid injection, which she felt better for about 3 months, and then it was back. And so she had her second injection, it didn't work. And so I gave her some CBD gummies, and my mom refuses to take Advil. And so the second day she came to me and she said, so do I take this every day? And I just even knew by her question that she had received some benefit and was willing to now to kind of pursue that. And when I was home, that jar was empty. So that was the beginning of the conversation, and it had to be introduced very, very slowly, and allowed her, because she's at home on the internet like everybody else is, and so she's been researching and reading about it as well. So then she comes to me with stories about what she's reading, and that is the second part of the conversation. So I think empowering, there's a lot of information already out there, some of it very, very good information, and so just empowering patients to kind of pursue it and kind of lead the way. We are also now, because of the media and Miko's contribution and CNN, physicians are getting asked more and more questions. And the answer from most physicians is, I don't know, I better look into it. And so, it's actually the patients are driving this. And so now, as the clinicians on this side, we have to start educating ourselves on what's available, what's out there, what the patients are discussing. And so that's the next step. But in Las Vegas, there's a huge Asian community. It is not widely discussed, and so I think the dialogue is going to begin slowly, but it is out there.
I'd like to jump in on this question really quickly too. I think that we will see a change in perception, education, and attitude of the more marginalized ethnic communities, and let's go ahead and throw in black people too, on this issue of how do we discuss cannabis in certain ethnic communities. A part of the way of dealing with that is having more faces that look like them on the public stage talking about why cannabis needs to be legalized. That's part of the reason, besides my drive and passion as an activist first, lawyer third or fourth on the list, part of my drive to get out on the public stage was so that people could see me and potentially begin to ask questions or get more comfortable. I personally think it's important for me to go out into ethnic communities and begin the discussion, whether it's Black, Latino, or an Asian community. But the primary thing is for articulate people like yourself to stand up and get on stages like this and begin to talk. And the more that people who look like you see you on the stage, then they might be more comfortable coming in. And I'm so glad that you asked that question too, because I wanted to say earlier, Miko didn't have to have a diversity strategy to build her team, right? She just went out and found the people who she believed in, that she could communicate with, that she thought was most educated. Look at this team, right? We need more of this. Part of the reason why Normal Women's Alliance has a logo that is a black female is so that I could lure in more ethnic communities. I am very proud of our white brothers and sisters who have been at the front lines, but we need more of teams that look like this.
Someone had texted in a question about the status of dialysis patients and how cannabis relates to them and kind of the changing nature of that. I don't know who on the panel wants to take that, but yeah.
What was the question?
Just about this, how dialysis patients are going to be impacted by the change in cannabis regulation.
Are they going to be affected by the change?
There was not much
Okay,
contact. And
all right,
whoever
let me
asked
just
that
kind of
question.
fill in the blanks a little
Yeah,
bit.
sure.
I just want to start by saying that I have my aunt who's actually a dialysis patient, and my cousin who passed away recently. We're both cannabis patients. My aunt's blood work has been coming back a lot better since she's been on the oil. In terms of how it's going to be affected by regulation, I want to just address that on a broader patient base. There's nothing for you, so start talking. Write whoever you need to write. Get those letters out there. We're not protected as patients in the way that legalization or regulation is going to benefit the business side of it. It's completely two different things. It goes back to what I was saying before. And this is just based on my research. What I've been trying to find is that, yay, it's going to be covered by insurance. And if I'm answering the question properly, no, it's not going to be covered by insurance, and no, the prices are not going to go down. I hope I answered the question. Anybody else?
I have a question about the question.
Yeah.
Why specifically dialysis patients?
Okay.
I can speak on this a little bit. So for transplant patients in California, by the great work of Americans for Safe Access and Yami Bolanos, the president here at GLACA, they just passed. I think it was AB 258, and it's so that they took the language out where they can't discriminate against medical marijuana patients in the state of California anymore. So that has been changed just as the last few months. So.
Aaron, does that also apply to employers who drug screen? Or that's just for?
Yeah, that's just for transplant. People waiting for a transplant.
And those are the kind of policy changes that are going to have to move state to state, especially in the states that have already approved medical marijuana. That's a very good question, though, because that's something that's a practical day-to-day question. Very cool.
The bottom line on that is that do the patients get a warning, or is it absolutely illegal?
No, see, before they had to automatically deny them if they used medical cannabis, and now they don't have to, so they won't be able to turn them down just for that reason. So most likely it's not going to be a problem anymore. This is just for the state of California.
Transplants you're assigned to a particular region. So we probably belong in the southwest region, and so transplants even though it's a national registry, the coordination is from your region. But it's going to be an issue, yes. And the transplant program is a federal program, I believe. It's a very good question.
We just had a question about Joey's strain. They just wanted to know about the strain itself, what it took, how.
Yeah, so it was my team that I work with that we were providing Joey with our medicine, and we grow veganically, which means we just use vegan nutrients, which is vegan organic. So it's the same thing as organic fertilizers, but we eliminate anything from animals like bone meal, blood meal, fish emulsion. And so the medicine that we were giving Joey was working better than other medicine that he had had in the past. And we had a few strains that we had bred and created, and one of them, it was called Alpha Dog in the beginning. And Joey used this medicine, and it just worked tremendously well for him. But we know that cannabinoids in your particular system can be different for everybody. But once he used that, it was his medicine. It works great for his condition, and a lot of other people have had success with it also. And that's just how it came about, trial and error.
Yeah, Joey's strain, it's when I talked to Aaron about even naming it Joey strain, the whole reason behind that is because I saw the special needs community coming in droves, and I wasn't real happy with the way some of the strains were being named. When I have certain parents contact me and say they got crack, green crack, and a few other names, and the parents were feeling very uncomfortable. They were feeling not only uncomfortable going to the collective, but uncomfortable going in and speaking with bud tenders who are used to a different audience. The products not really being geared toward families. And so after we realized that the strain was effective for Joey and a few other families, I thought it needed to be appropriately named because just like many other parents, I didn't start out in the cannabis industry. I started out as a mother of a child diagnosed with autism. So I wanted to be able to have a conversation with Joey's physician and not use green crack to describe the cannabis that he's using. And the physicians also stated that is a step in the right direction with regards to families. And it also shows the responsibility of the cannabis industry really accepting that here comes this new patient base and we need to support them. So I'm very happy to talk about Joey strain. I'm very happy that I was able to meet some cultivators that, as far as I know, are some of the top cultivators in the country. And that's Aaron and his team.
And the name also brings awareness to every patient that comes in and gets it. They ask about it. We have a donation jar and all that as well. So.
If anyone has the mic on first, I guess. But does anyone have any final comments?
Yes. I'd like to say,
Yes,
I'm going to say something. Okay. So as we are approaching a legalization structure in the state of California, I ask that you do a couple of things. Don't trust other people's interpretation of the laws. Read it yourself to the best of your ability. Please read AB 266. It's very important. Just last week, Governor Jerry Brown took the bill and has made some changes to it. I need you to look and read the law and become active if there's a part of that language that you don't agree with, not only as a consumer, but as a business owner. And here's why it's important. Not only will bad laws increase the cost of doing business, but it will also revive the black market, which is the whole point that we're trying to regulate, is to stop the black market. So please read AB 266. Here's another thing that you can do. Get involved with your local city government. The power is there. I've had business owners and patients come to me all over the state. And, usually they want to come to me because they say, oh, we want to sue, or what legal action can we take? And let me tell you, the legal system is not your best course of action. It shouldn't be your first. It's too expensive, and very rarely are you going to get the resolution that you're looking for. So save your money. and use it towards other ends, like recall efforts, going to city council meetings, testifying, holding your politicians' feet to the fire on this issue. Okay? There is power in local government. If you look at AB 266, you see that they're transferring a lot of power to counties and local government on the state licensing issue. That means that we as activists, concerned consumers, need to get involved at the local level. I had some business owners come to me in Vallejo earlier this year because they received notices from the city council who decided that they were just going to ban cannabis in the community. And mind you, my clients have been responsible business owners paying taxes upwards of $300,000 to the city who decided they're going to come back and ban it, right? Now, I was, at that time, February of this year, they were showing the 50th anniversary of Selma, so I was probably a little bit ramped up at the time they came to me. But, they came to me and I'm like, no, we shall not be moved. Okay? And instead of wasting money paying an attorney, we're going to go to city council and we're going to get involved and we're going to change this. They're going to listen to us because we elect them. Right. Somewhere along the lines, that's gotten lost. Okay? Guess what? As of 3 weeks ago, they've approved 14 medical marijuana dispensaries in that same city. Okay? So if there's an option for you to get involved, and I know it's a lot because we've all got 10 jobs, families, and children with special needs, and all the things going on in our lives. But if we really love our communities and want to provide safe access, we've got to find that moment, that little bit of moment where we can either write a letter or go to local city council meetings and get involved. You can make a difference. Don't be fooled. One person can make a difference. Start at the local level and move your way up. Give them hell. Thank you.
And on that note, that concludes this panel.